Kay Huxford, Green Bay West High School newspaper advisor, presented a session at the 2012 Newspaper Conference on how to conduct a better interview. In her presentation, she gave tips, advice, and even talked about what not to do.
Yes. Being prepared, doing your research ahead of time, knowing who you're talking to, is really important. Showing them respect by doing the research and talking about them, a little bit of their background and their topic, that's really important. I think you're going to get more out of the conversation that way. Making sure that you're attentive, and that has a lot to do with a lot of things. I mean, showing up on time, doing active listening, making sure that your equipment is prepared, and then following it up with some really good reconstruction of it afterward. You know, you don't want to make the writing come across as a series of quotes. You know, first I asked this, then they said this. This is what a lot of my students do. They want to do this thing where they write, you know, purple parrot, like you see in, you know, like fashion magazines, where they'll say the magazine name, like as if it's just any standard interviewer, and then here's the question we asked, and then they put the person's name and here's the response. It's, to me, this is a flat interview. I mean, instead of being able to listen to it or watch it online, then I have to just read it. It's just ridiculous. So how do you make that interesting? How do you reconstruct it? And that's why the things I was trying to point out, like paying attention to your environment, paying attention to their mannerisms. So like, I know I'm a person who talks with my hands a lot. So if someone pointed it out in an interview, I'd be like, they were really paying attention. And they must have felt comfortable enough to notice that about me, because I'm constantly using my hands and using my body language, to my facial expressions to try to get a point across. And so to say that this expressive person who talks a lot with her hands in her face, you know, and we sat down for 10 minutes, you know, like, they're making it creative, they're making it interesting. So I think those are my three biggest points, but it's so hard to narrow it down because each of those points has so much stuff that goes in it.
Although sometimes her students make mistakes, Huxford said she hopes they are learning from those experiences.
It's like, I want them to be able to get the most out of that process. I want them to be able to, you know, learn from it. So I need to be able to stand back and watch them make their mistakes. But there are times when I felt like, okay, like, you shouldn't have really asked that question, or you have to give them more time than just like till 8th hour today to get back to you. And so I might let the student know how I sort of fixed things and say, you know, it's okay. Don't be embarrassed. It's all right. I just let them know that if they need until tomorrow, because this is what's going on with teachers right now, they have a meeting after school and they might be preparing for that. So they'll get back to you or me tomorrow, and I'll be sure to find out and let you know. So just continuously walking them through that process. And I hope that, you know, with as teachers, if they start out interviewing teachers, it's a more comfortable situation. We all expect that they're learning. The hard part is now sending them out on their own. You know, it's like the fledgling that goes off then into the business, and they're going to be interviewing that big business executive, and I'm like, oh, make sure that you leave your address, you know, like, do it right.